Okay, now we're gonna put the square layer on the top to give us more layers and volume. So we're actually gonna put the square layer above the horseshoe. So all this hair will fall out. If you need to clip it away, you can. But as we go through the haircut, you're gonna see how that falls out. So we're gonna get our guide by putting a 3/4 of an inch, sometimes we say 1 inch profile part. And we're gonna cut this just like our regular square layer. So I have to look at all this hair and decide. Some of this in the back is gonna start falling out. If I go and take her haircut this short, she's gonna have pretty short, spiky, full hair. But we're going to leave her hair just a little longer. So we'll have something to play with when we texturize it. So we're gonna pull this square. This crown will start falling out. Do not try to cut that crown. Most people, we get the crown too short, so this is gonna ensure that that stays long. Divide the 1 inch profile down the middle, and then we're going to go through the pivoting radials again at the back. And you will find there will be very minimal to cut. But I want you to go through it anyway in case they start with a little longer hair. So pivoting radials, and we're gonna pull it straight up at 180. So how much am I cutting there? Very minimal. But still go through the haircut. Don't try to start holding it down. We wanna leave that bulk, that length around the crown so that we do not cut their hair too short. Come back to the center. Ensure my guide is right on track. Pivoting radial. See, there's nothing to cut there. If you see nothing to cut, don't try to find something to cut. And see how I ended up standing in front of my client so I could cut from the guide out. So that portion is done now. And when we go to the front left, we're gonna take straight up and down vertical. But when we cut it, we're combing it up to a horizontal level to cut it. So you may hear it called vertical or horizontal. So we're gonna hold this, our fingers parallel to the floor, cut to the guide, take half of what you cut, add another 1/2 inch to it, pull it straight up at 90. You see your guide, cut. Divide that, add half to it, move forward. Do not over direct, straight up, cut. Don't drop your elbow and go down to the side. Take half of that, make crisp, clean partings so you know you're on track. There you go. So do you see how all that weight at that parietal ridge is falling out, but I'm actually getting a layer on top of it? Continue forward. And when you cut the left side, if you're right-handed, you're always going to stand behind the client. And when I start cutting the other side, I'm going to stand in front of the client so I can cut with my guide. And if you want to over-direct the last section back to the previous one, you're more than welcome to. And that way, when you get ready to detail the fringe, you have a little extra weight through there. So we see how we have the wedge here, but then through this area, we're able to get a few more layers and create some movement so we don't have that hard bowl mushroom line. So I'm gonna finish this side. I'm gonna stand in front of my client. When I start this, I want to ensure that I pick up a little bit of that pivoting radial so I don't have my guide on track. But you see, if I stand in front of her, I'm cutting it directly even with my guide. If I'm having to be on this side and aim for my guide, it's a little harder and you end up cutting too much off of the outside edge. So work your way forward, stand in front of your mannequin or your client. Distribute this hair straight up. The center part's at 90, but all this hair is over directed up to 180. So you will hear it saying 90 into 180 is the distribution. elevation. Take half of that. Going forward. Before you cut, if you need to look in the mirror, check the room around you, see if you are at your parallel in your room and your fingers are parallel. In the last section, I'm going to pull it back just to give me a little to play with. When you finish this, always go right back through the center, because if you miss anything or you're unbalanced, it's going to show right through the center. You'll see a little divot. So always double check that you connected these into a square straight line. So here we have our graduated layers. It's a 45 into a square, and you will notice I have a lot of movement and layers, but she's still going to be able to have a shape, and we'll go in and razor and detail this out to take a little more bulk out and make it our own specialized haircut.